One of the best things about Elvis's movies, for better or worse, is that they gave us soundtracks essentially resembling concept albums, which is a far cry from the rest of Elvis's output at RCA, which throughout his career tended toward grab bag albums to use up whatever the studio had in the can. But the first to really step outside that mold and be a cohesive work was King Creole. Despite the success of Jailhouse Rock, behind the scenes, Elvis's manager Colonel Parker did not approve of how much access and influence songwriters Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller had on Elvis, and Parker put into place limitations on them during the making of King Creole. And of the 11 songs in King Creole, Lieber and Stoller only contributed 3. The soundtrack was mostly recorded over 3 sessions in January 1958, and although Elvis's normal stage band was present, studio players filled in on several songs where Scotty, Bill, and DJ struggled with the complex rhythms and melodies of the New Orleans sound. Joining them were the Jordanaires on backing vocals and a small group of brass players to emulate the sound of a jazz club band. The first song you hear in King Creole is the short but eerie little tune called Turtles, Berries, Gumbo, which immediately sets the stage in the mood of the movie. Following that, Elvis joins jazz vocalist Kitty White in a duet for the song Crawfish.
Crawfish, crawfish. Well, I went to the bayou just last night. There was no moon, but the stars were bright. Put a big long hook on a big long pole, and I pulled Mr. Crawfish out of his hole.
Crawfish is a good song. It's key in establishing that Danny is tuned into the musicality of the city.
Next week, baby.
The next song is Steadfast, Loyal, and True. Of all the songs on the soundtrack, it's the weakest, but that's intentional. It's Danny very plainly singing his school song. It serves to move the plot along, but outside the context of the movie, it doesn't work as well.
Dear alma mater, we're steadfast, loyal, and true.
Come on, kid. Jazz it up, huh?
During the Five and Dime store robbery, Danny distracts the store's patrons with the tune Lover Doll.
You're the cutest love doll that I ever did ever see. Let me tell you, love doll, you were just me.
Lover Doll is a pretty cute song, and Elvis is fairly charming singing it, but as I talked about before, the scene is unnecessary other than to set up the Danny and Nellie relationship.
Let me be your lover boy. Let me be your lover boy. Let me be your lover boy.
When Maxie learns that Ronnie and Danny know each other, he lets his jealousy rage and demands that Danny prove he's only a singer, and Danny gets up on stage and performs Trouble.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. If you're looking for trouble, just look right in my face. I was born standing up and talking back. My daddy was
Trouble, which was written by Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, almost instantly became an iconic Elvis song, and it's easy to see why. The memorable opening, the badass lyrics, and Elvis's intense delivery is altogether captivating. This is peak 50s Elvis doing what he did best, and it's no surprise that it was used to kick off the 1968 comeback special, and remind folks why Elvis was such a monumental artist in the first place.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. If you're looking for trouble, just look right in my face. I was born standing up and talking back. My daddy was a green-eyed mountain cat because I'm evil. My middle name is Misery. mess around with me.
The first song Danny performs at the King Creole Club to try to win the crowd over is the energetic Dixieland Rock, and Elvis handles the tongue-twisting lyrics with aplomb.
Well, down in New Orleans at the Golden Goose, I grabbed a green-eyed dolly that was on the loose. While I did that music, well, she said to me too. I said, pretty baby, come on and let's do the Dixieland Rock. Dixieland Rock. Well, the Dixieland Rock. Dixieland Rock. Let your head and shake.
Also, Elvis says the word pooped.
I was all pooped out when the clock struck 4, but she said no, daddy can't leave the floor. She wore a clinging dress that fit so tight, she couldn't sit down, so we danced all night to the Dixieland Rock.
Later, after a touching scene with Nellie when Danny tells her not to fall in love with him, Danny performs Young Dreams while Nellie watches on. It's a sweet ballad enhanced by its placement in the movie.
Young dreams of love, young dreams of love. Young dreams, young dreams, young dreams. My heart is filled with young dreams, dreams. And I'm longing to share them all with you.
And it becomes a character moment for both of them, with its sharp contrast to what Danny says in the previous scene.
Can't you see in my eyes that you're the only one who can make my young dreams come true?
At the next performance Danny gives at the King Creole Club, he sings New Orleans, and once again, it's a great mix of bluesy jazz and classic rock and roll.
You'll never know what heaven means until you've been down to New Orleans. New Orleans. You ain't been living till you cuddle and cool. Oh, with the black-eyed baby by the old bayou.
What I loved best about the song New Orleans in the movie, though, was the low angles that kept the focus not so much on Elvis, but on his shadow. This scene really shows that the filmmakers purposefully went out of their way to do something different.
Ooh, they love you like no one can. It makes you awful glad that you were born a man.
The biggest hit single off King Creole was the song Hard-Headed Woman, but unfortunately it's the only song in the movie not played out in full. We only catch the tail end of it. Fun fact, Elvis made history with Hard-Headed Woman. It was the first rock and roll single to sell 500,000 copies and officially become a gold record. Immediately after Hard-Headed Woman comes the title song, King Creole, another hit penned by Lieber and Staller.
King Creole. There's a man in New Orleans who plays a rock and roll. He's a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of coal. He goes by the name of King Creole. You know he's gone, 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 jumping like catfish on a pole. Yeah. You know he's gone, 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 and a hip-shaking King Creole.
With lyrics obviously invoking Elvis, like hip shaking, and a fierce guitar solo by Scotty Moore, King Creole is a showstopper. Here's something cool. King Creole was actually recorded twice. After the first attempt at the January 15th, 1958 session, no one was particularly happy with the end result.
There's a man in New Orleans who plays rock and roll. He's a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of coal. He goes by the name of King Creole.
So they revisited King Creole on January 23rd, but the arrangement was tweaked, and other session players were dropped in to assist with King Creole's complex rhythms on bass, guitar, and drums. The Jordanaires also added the opening King Creole lyrics before Elvis begins singing, and what you hear in the movie, and on the soundtrack, is the second and final version, which was much more polished.
Oh, yeah. There's a man in New Orleans who plays rock and roll. He's a guitar man with a great big soul. He lays down a beat like a ton of coal. He goes by the name of King Creole. You know he's gone, 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 jumping like a catfish on a pole. Yeah, you know it's gone, gone, gone. Hip shaking King Creole.
On Danny's last night playing the King Creole Club before going to work for Maxie, he sings the ballad Don't Ask Me Why, as much a statement from Danny as a performance.
I'll go on loving you. Don't ask me why.
I don't know if it's just the lighting combined with the costume, but to me, Elvis looks different in this scene from the rest of the movie. A bit thinner, a little less boyish, and he's holding himself a bit taller. I know Elvis didn't enter the military until after the shoot was complete, and I couldn't find a definitive answer about when the scene was shot, but it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't filmed later in the shoot as he was getting ready to go into the army. Finally, the last song Danny sings after he returns to the King Creole is Ronnie's signature song, As Long As I Have You.
Let the stars fade and fall, and I won't care at all. As long as I have you.
Both Don't Ask Me Why and As Long As I Have You are pleasant, charming ballads, and Elvis performs them expertly. With Louisiana blues and jazz as core influences crossed with contemporary 50s rock and roll and pop, King Creole still offers a great soundtrack. Songs like Dixieland Rock, Trouble, Crawfish, and New Orleans work both in the context of the movie and on the standalone album. But wait, there's more. More, you ask? What more could there be? Well, as was the case with most Elvis movies, many songs were contributed by songwriters for potential inclusion in the film, but only a few make the cut. Even more rare are songs actually recorded by Elvis but not used in the film. In the case of King Creole, before King Creole was decided as the final title, Elvis recorded a song called Danny, which was released for the first time in November 1978 on the third volume of the Elvis: A Legendary Performer album series.
Danny is my name. Oh, yes. My name should be trouble. My name should be woe. For trouble and heartache is all that I know. But Danny, yes, Danny is my name.
Fun fact, Danny was reworked and recorded in 1960 by Conway Twitty as Lonely Blue Boy, and it became a top 10 hit.
It must have been raining the night I was born. Yes, lonely, lonely blue boy is my name.
It's a shame they didn't find a way to work Danny into the movie elsewhere, but I understand why it was cut. I'm just glad we're finally able to hear Elvis's version.
Oh, Daddy, yes, Daddy is my name.
So if there's one film of Elvis's that deserves to be in any film collection, King Creole is it. It doesn't just work as an Elvis movie, it works, period. You don't need to be an Elvis fan to enjoy the story of Danny Fisher and his struggles in the New Orleans underworld. In the arc of Elvis's film career, King Creole was a shining, memorable moment. It was critically and commercially successful and has become even more loved with time, and for good reason. It is still enjoyable today. I absolutely recommend both the film and its soundtrack.
Don't ask me why. Don't ask me
why. Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say thanks for everything. You people have been wonderful to me here, and I'll never forget you. I just want you to know that I'll always be grateful. Thank you very much.
Next week on Blue Suede Reviews, Elvis returns home from the Army with the first movie to establish the Elvis travelogue formula, G.I. Blues.
It's one for the money, two for the show.
What are you doing?
You get ready now, go.
So what? I want to hear the original. Turn that thing off. Turn Tulsa off. I'll turn it off, Cookie.
Don't do it. See that? Name all over the place. Anything that you wanna do, but honey, lay off of my shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoes, baby.